we're all, I hope, becoming more conscious of the eyes, because we all walk around with masks for protection, and protection of ourselves, certainly protection of others. But what's happening now is the eyes are becoming much more the focus, I think, actually, for expression. Because before the mouth would say something, but the eyes now are becoming extremely visible, obviously, much more focused with the face. So I'm going to read a Shakespeare quote. The eyes are the window to the world, or to the soul. So welcome to the show, Dr. Byrne.
Thank you, Carol, for inviting me. It's good to be back.
Anytime, anytime. So when I say the power of the eyes, what comes to focus in your mind?
Well, what comes to focus is light, and that light is the food that our eyes need in order to be able to see. And the more light we can take in, the more radiant we become. And it's an expression of our heart, it's an expression of our creativity. And a lot of eye problems begin because we are not absorbing the light as we should.
Okay, and what could create that? In other words,
Trauma,
what are
yeah,
the obstacles? Drama,
yeah,
trauma.
toxicities in the body,
Mm-hmm.
stress, and habits. And
Mm-hmm.
we get very flatlined in how we see the world. We're told by the conventional eye doctors that our eyes are only going to get worse. They go in one direction, they get worse. And there's nothing you can do except drugs and surgery. So you buy into that, and it creates fear, it creates hopelessness, and you begin to shut down. And on a physiological level, the retina, which is the place where the photoreceptors live that capture the light, they begin to get desensitized from light, and this shuts our vision down. Now, we could go into more specific reasons, what we eat, what we think, how much time we spend on the screen. But basically, we are told something that's a myth, that our eyes can only get worse, and that we have to live out our eye diagnosis, whether it's cataracts, macular degeneration, glaucoma, or just deteriorating eyesight. And in my practice, I have patients in their 70s and 80s that are improving, getting better, reversing cataracts, glaucoma, macular degeneration, reducing the need for glasses, passing their driver's test at 86. So I'm presenting a whole new paradigm on how to get better, how to improve.
I'm curious with that. As far as the air quality, does that affect the health of the eyes?
Well, it's funny you bring that up because I was giving a telehealth session today with somebody from
Mm-hmm.
Colorado, and there's some pretty bad fires in northern Colorado right now. And she
Right.
said, my eyesight is not as good today. So the eyes need oxygenation in order to see
Mm-hmm.
well. And so when we have smoke, whether we're in California, Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, this is going to create a starvation of the oxygen into the eyes, and it's going to reduce our eyesight. And on the other hand, on top of that, when we're exposed to smoke like this, our eyes dry out and they burn, they itch, they turn red.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
it amplifies already what we may be going through if on an endocrine level our thyroid is low or our adrenals are not working properly. Things that cause dryness to begin with, and then we put the smoke on top of it. Yes, this is going to create deterioration and also a lot of dryness.
A lot of dryness. All right. So what tips
What can we
would you
do?
like to tell the listener?
Yeah, so number one, we want to make sure we're
Mm-hmm.
getting healthy fats and oils into our diet, especially the
Mm-hmm.
omega-3 family. There have been
Mm-hmm.
definitive studies that show that when we take in more omega-3, we have less dry eye. For the gals out there, estrogen levels, if we have too high or too low estrogen levels, that can contribute to dry eye. Thyroid, so getting your thyroid checked, making sure your thyroid is working properly, because that can create dry eye. Being more proactive, so that means using eye drops that are natural and healthy. Most of the eye drops in the pharmacy actually dry your eyes out more and they make your eyes more red. Now, a few years ago, I came up with a very special therapeutic eye drop called MSM. And your listeners probably
Mm-hmm.
know MSM on a systemic level because it actually helps reduce pain, arthritis. It's a sulfur
Right.
molecule, and sulfur is the third leading trace mineral in our body. Well, I created an MSM eye drop that is soothing, moisturizing, hydrating. And so, using MSM drops, you can even use my technique called the eye massage with the MSM. When you start massaging
Mm-hmm.
your eyelids, this is the place where the glands live that produce the tears. So making sure you're reducing inflammation in the eyelids. If you're doing screen time, make sure you protect your eyes from the blue light. Blue light can dry your eyes out from all the screens, LEDs. So I've created something called blue blocking filters, which block the damaging blue light and will refresh and rejuvenate your eyes. Make sure you're eating the rainbow diet, okay? The vegetables and
Mm-hmm.
fruits that make up the reds, the oranges, the yellows, the greens. Specifically, the carotenoids lutein, zeaxanthin, and astaxanthin are really important for the macula health. So you want to make sure you're getting those either in a vitamin or through healthy foods. And last but not least, my eye exercises are excellent for hydrating and bringing more moisture
Mm-hmm.
to the eyes by increasing the circulation and blood flow. So
Mm-hmm.
there are several things that you can do to reduce dryness, and there's so much out there. Great stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, that would be a great video that if you could show people next time,
Uh-huh.
your eye exercises.
Well, actually, if you go to my website, my exercises
Okay.
are all up there. They're free. They're all 90-day
Okay.
programs. So let's say you have dry eye. You click on dry eye. You come to the 90-day eye exercise protocol. So it's
Mm-hmm.
already there. You just
Right.
have, and there's no, it's free. It's all there. So depending if you have macular degeneration, click on that. If you've got myopia, astigmatism. So I've created that so that people have access, because most people that contact me are so frustrated with their eye doctors. They feel bullied, invalidated when
Mm-hmm.
they say, "Is there anything I can do, doctor?" And the doctor says, "No, nothing."
Mm-hmm.
Well, what if I change my diet? No, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Surgery. And
Mm-hmm.
people are frustrated with this. They know they find it in naturopathic medicine, in acupuncture,
Mm-hmm.
in spiritual
Mm-hmm.
healing, meditation. Why not the eyes? So
Mm-hmm.
that's my job to put out the information so that
Mm-hmm.
they can heal their eyes, physical, emotional,
Mm-hmm.
spiritual.
Mm. So on the physical, can it actually increase eyesight?
Of course, you can increase
Mm-hmm.
eyesight. When you get a prescription from the doctor, you're destined to have
Right.
the eyes get worse. When you start doing
Right.
exercises on the eyes, you're creating new neural pathways in the brain. And if you do
Mm-hmm.
these over a short period of time, you're going to build more visual awareness, better circulation,
Mm-hmm.
less stress. And so the glasses that he gave you aren't going to work anymore because they're too strong. And so, most
Mm.
definitely, you can improve your eyesight um,
Mm-hmm.
at any age. Age is not a determinant. So, I think that
Mm-hmm.
I, I I have seen it thousands of times in my practice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense because you go to a doctor's office and he gives you, if you're 20/70, then now all of a sudden you're 20/100, and it's also psychological.
Yeah, I mean, you feel hopeless because you
Right.
walk out of there and what does he say? We'll watch it
Right.
get worse,
Mm-hmm.
or there's nothing you can do. And
Right.
like any other part of the body, I follow you, and you have people on all the time. You heal this part of the body, that part of the body. I never hear the eyes. I've seen it.
Right.
I've done. That's why I've devoted my career to it. Of course, you can heal your eyes.
Yes, I can. I can picture that, Dr. Byrne. They leave the office, the doctor's office. They have prescriptions, and it's kind of like a fix.
It's a fix.
Like the temporary fix. For the eyes, rather than investing in the cure or the treatment. And I underline that word: treatment of the eyes.
Yes. Well, it's the Fixit model, which is the allopathic model, or the wellness model, which is, well, let's find the cause, treat that, and then the symptoms are going to go away, and there's going to be a rejuvenation. The eyes originate from the brain very early in utero. So every tissue of the eye is from the brain. Now we know in brain research there's neuroplasticity, creating new pathways, regenerating. Neuroscientists are proving this. So the eyes are part of the brain. They come into that neuroplasticity picture. And but you have to be invested in healing instead of being, into the drugs and the surgery. And the drugs and surgery do have their place. I'm not against it. Some people do need cataract surgery. But you can still do proactive things to preserve your eyes as you get older.
Mm-hmm. Now, trauma or an emotional situation, I'm thinking, we don't think about the eyes. We think that, okay, the body goes into shock, the muscular, the neurological, everything gets stuck, it's go on, in the brain, in the heart. What happens to the eyes with a trauma?
They freeze. Their perceptions freeze. The muscles get rattled. So you lose your balance. You lose your memory. You see double. I get several emails a week from people who say, I have double vision and I know it's from emotional trauma. And I went to my doctor and he said, put it out of your head. That's malarkey. Well, I developed programs in some of the hospitals in Philadelphia when I used to practice there. It was the outpatient clinics. And I worked with people in the rehabilitation in traumatic brain injury and developed different protocols to help people who have trauma, whether it's physical or emotional. And emotional trauma creates a paralysis in our consciousness, our body, and our mind. Yeah, you know this. So our perceptions get frozen, locked down. So the eye therapy, and I also use something called color therapy, which helps release trauma. When you look at different colors, it actually can expand your vision and heal your traumas. Craniosacral therapy, different kinds of movement, nutrition, essential oils. All of these things can reverse and heal trauma. So again, you have to make the connection, and this is where people have. I'm glad you brought it up because most people don't even think about their eyes when they've had a trauma, but it affects the soft tissue of the eye muscles, the eye tissue, and we absorb it, shock, and there it is. So a regular eye doctor is only testing eyesight at 20 feet and your physical eye health. He's not going to go into, did you have trauma? No way. No way.
Mechanical.
Right. Yeah. Eyeball. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
You got it.
Right. Yeah, I remember once going to a while ago a doctor that when I was more into painting, I said, well, do the colors when I paint help the eyes? And of course he said no. I shouldn't say of course, but he said no. But now that you're mentioning it, I'm sure colors have energy. They have healing properties.
Of course.
Right? I mean, you want to give us some insight
Sure.
on the depth of the colors?
Sure. Well, let's first go back to the Egyptians, the Romans, the Greeks. They would dial the color out of their third eye in the pyramids, and you would get the color, the vibration that you need to balance your chakras, to balance your energy. So the way I use color therapy is I give people the rainbow. I give them all the colors of the visible spectrum. Some colors they don't like, some colors they do. The red end of the spectrum, red, orange, yellow, is more stimulating, more for chronic conditions. Then the green, blue, indigo, violet is more for pain, edema, trauma. So just depending on where they haven't absorbed the frequencies or the vibrations, by giving them the colors through the eyes, and 25% of the pathways in the eyes are non-visual. They go to the endocrine, the hypothalamus, the pineal, the pituitary. When you think about looking at color into the eyes, the blood vessels receive that energy and it's transported throughout the entire body. It takes about 40 minutes. So you're raising your frequency or vibration when you start looking at light and color. So as I said at the top, most people can't absorb color anymore because of trauma or whatever. The more you're able to absorb it, that's a reflection of your radiance. You know, in some of the research that I've done, I have an instrument that actually measures the biofield, the energy fields, the chakras, and the acupuncture meridians. I did research on when people do color therapy, their energy fields increase. You could see it in the pictures before and after. And this, of course, is talking about quantum field, quantum energy. And, you know, the eyes are one of the main sources of getting light into the body. Of course, you can get it through your skin as well. But our energy fields are the bank account for our physical health. And we're made of photons. Fritz Albert Popp, who was a famous physicist, in his research said we are made of photonic energy. So when I measure people's energy fields, I can actually see the dissonance in the field and then give them the proper prescription through their eyes, through color, to open up the biofield again, to balance the chakras. So we're talking about future medicine now. We're talking about energy medicine, and color therapy fits into that.
You know, when you mentioned about the Egyptian color civilization, I can still picture the eyes of women that really emphasized in the pictures, the eyes, you know, when they use the coal, that pencil. I'm thinking maybe they looked at the eyes in a spiritual way. Did they look at the eyes in a spiritual way?
I think so. I mean, I think I look at the eyes in a spiritual way. Somebody comes in, and though they have a physical problem, if I'm able to ask them, what's your biggest spiritual challenge? It's in the eyes. And, you know, if we go to the Bible, when thine eyes see single, the body's full of light. And so if we just cut to the chase, I know this makes my medical colleagues very nervous when I talk about the spiritual aspect of seeing, but it's our soul. It's directly to what's going on in the soul. And here we have a way to heal it through physical, through color, through sound. So yeah, exactly. And I think in those cultures, they were looking at the spiritual imbalance and using frequency to balance it out. So yeah, absolutely. You could probably name a condition and I could give you the spiritual problem that a person is having based on the diagnosis.
Well, that's interesting. How about giving us an example?
So let's say glaucoma. So glaucoma is a shutdown of the seventh chakra. Although it's a vascular problem on a physical level, It's really
Right.
a lack of connection to the greater source. And what happens is our optic nerve gets damaged. That's our deepest connection into the brain. So at some
Mm-hmm.
point, our chakras, sixth and seventh, are not getting
Mm-hmm.
activated. So it's showing up on a
Mm-hmm.
physical level as a pressure problem. I have too much pressure in the eye. Well, if you open up your upper chakras, then you open up
Right.
and you reduce the pressure. Let's look at macular degeneration. A lot of people suffering that, losing the central theme of their life. They're usually older, they're retired,
Mm-hmm.
maybe afraid of
Mm-hmm.
losing their independence because macular degeneration is about I can't see the detail anymore. Okay, I can't,
Mm.
right? I can't,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where I'm going in that object. And it forces them into the peripheral, which is more of their intuitive, more of their creative vision. So if they spent their whole
Mm-hmm.
life in the macula world of details and objects, and now their macula is worn
Mm-hmm.
out. Okay, cataracts. There's another one. So a cataract is when we're blocking obstacles. We're creating obstacles. I don't want to see it, so I'm gonna dig in my heels and block it to the point where I'm actually changing the lens and making it opacified. So it becomes dense. And then what?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I take it out, but I still have the
Mm-hmm.
same attitude of I don't want to see it. So, there's
Oh, that's fascinating.
yeah, so there's
No,
always
that's
this
fascinating.
spiritual reason why the
Right.
physical is letting you down.
Mm-hmm. Mm. You know what? I remember in an interview, they were talking about symphony conductors, the way they move their hands. You know, as a conductor, they tend to live longer. Now, I don't know the exact research on that, so I'm wondering: are there certain professions where they might live longer? Is there such a thing as that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that if you look at the
Right.
the jobs today, we're all on
Right.
screen time way too much. Um, and I think this is
Right.
where we have to balance it out with going into nature more. I know for me, I'm needing to spend even more time in nature and work less because of all this, the digital
Mm-hmm.
branding and social media and stuff I'm doing. That I think that, if you can choose something in a more creative, soul feeding field, I think you're going to keep your eyes longer than if
Mm-hmm.
you're, doing the same repetitive vision task day after day. The Industrial Revolution
Mm-hmm.
kind of put us in that, and it's made things very mechanical and repetitive. Our thinking, our moving, our posture goes into that. And this is another work that I do called
Mm-hmm.
Continuum Movement. So, Continuum Movement is a somatic
Right.
practice. It was invented by Emily Conrad, who was a somatic pioneer in LA. And her thesis is that if we do spiral, wave, and pulsating movements and we add sound to it, we reclaim the fluid in our body. And since we're 70% fluid, aging occurs when we dry out. You talked about that at the beginning. Well, when we make repetitive the same movements
Uh-huh.
over and over, our bodies are going to dry out. But if we start slowing down our movement, if we start doing spiral movements, wave motion, and we add sound, different sounds actually activate different parts of the body, we can regenerate and get more fluidity in our consciousness. And I bring it into the eye work all the time because eye problems are based on we don't have enough fluid there. We're drying out. So when I bring that consciousness to
Mm-hmm.
the eye work, it's groundbreaking. And this is just a little commercial plug. I'm doing a class this weekend, this Saturday, October 17th, from 10 to 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And I'm going to be bringing in this fluid movement to the eye exercises. People love it. They get rejuvenated in an hour. I mean, it's so profound to see the changes. They sign up after one, after the other, after the other. And I'm so inspired, Carol, that I'm actually
Mm-hmm.
putting out a health summit, an online health summit, January 2021. And I've invited 7 of my colleagues, and it's all on eye health, holistic health. I have an herbalist, an acupuncturist, a naturopath, and I'm going to bring this to my community and their community. You know, you see online summits all the time. I never see a holistic eye summit. So I'm going to do that as well. So I'm really trying to educate people and say, hey, there's another way.
Definitely. There's another way, and sometimes, we take the eyes for granted. I always say if something happens to a part of our body, like a heart attack, then we realize we have a heart. But our eyes are with us all the time.
Yeah.
Even in our sleep, right?
Right.
Rapid REM.
REM.
Rapid eye movement. I mean, they are a part of us.
24/7.
Now, I'm curious about water, Dr. Byrne. The best way to cleanse the eyes, at nighttime. Supposing the water is toxic in some areas.
Well, yeah, I mean, water is another whole level of study that I did with my energy measurement. And,
Right.
it's very, very important that you want to have a pH more alkalinizing. I use something called structured water, where I have a filter that spirals the water. You spiral it through a filter. That actually creates more hydration. This is where my eye drops, they're organic, work really well. Organic, sulfur, MSM, and I would stay with the 5%. I would use those before bed as an eye bath. They're great. They really help people. Again, if you've got toxicity in your water, you've got to do something about it. You don't want to put that in your eye. The eye has a microbiome just like our gut. And so you need to be very careful about what you're putting into the eyes and know what's in your water. I would tend to use some kind of natural eye drop instead because I think it's safer and it has more therapeutic value. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yep.
So we're picking up from you, obviously, Dr. Byrne, is that the eyes are so sensitive.
Yes.
And so meaningful as far as who we are. Spiritually, physically, mentally, psychologically. It certainly seems as if we have an upcoming summit in January, which is great because we take the eyes for granted.
We do.
And when I'm thinking of the psychology of it, we go to the eye doctor, and what are we going to the eye doctor for? Really to look at the eyes, and then see if we need prescription, but we're not looking at really the eyes.
Yeah. Well, what the doctor is looking for is disease, and he'll find it, and then he'll say, well, there's nothing you can do. There's no health or wellness in that model whatsoever. It's just fear. And, look, at this point, I've got thousands of testimonials of people who have been there, and the things they say to me of what they've been through. They've been bullied, they've been abused, they and that's not everybody, but they're not being seen and heard. If they say, look, I've read that if I take vitamin C, it could actually improve my lens health. Well, there's a really great research study that actually proves that. The UK did a study in 2016 which proved if you take 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, you have a 33% lower risk of developing cataracts. But if your doctor says, that's baloney, let's schedule you for the surgery, and you're like, but wait a minute, my worldview is holistic. My worldview is, I don't want to do that. And then you're met with, well, that's all there is. Of course, you're going to leave very disillusioned and, frustrated, angry, dissatisfied. So there are many ways to the top of the mountain, not just surgery and drugs.
Right. Yeah, and I just realized something. People, they might spend more time looking for a new eyeglass.
Yeah.
Than studying the treatment of the eyes. You know what I'm saying?
They may.
Holistic approach.
Yeah, there's a fashion statement, which is fine. That's okay. I think you have to come in with the attitude of, I want to take care of my health, I want to,
Right.
I'm looking more to wellness than I am to the Fixit model. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you were gonna, you certainly can't do it in a few minutes, but some words of wisdom, and you've given us so much already. Any more words of wisdom as far as I'm looking at the quality of eyes,
Yeah.
the spirit of the eyes,
Yes.
Dr. Sanborn.
So, three things. Number one, get out into the sunlight 30 minutes every day. Don't be afraid of the sun. If you need to wear a hat, do so. But natural sunlight is so important on a physical, emotional, spiritual level. So, that's number one. Number two, when you do screen time, I want you to take a 10-minute break every hour. Make sure you drink a glass of water, get up and go outside. Make sure your place is ventilated well, because the screen time is really debilitating your vision. And then the third thing is that make sure you eat a diet that has a lot of antioxidants. When I first got into practice and I didn't have all this sophistication, I would counsel people eat better. And they'd come back and say, "Doc, my cataract went away. My eyesight is getting better." So food is medicine on many levels, but if you've got an eye problem, change your diet, eat more naturally, and reduce your inflammation, and that will clear up your eyesight. Simple things. So that's my prescription for your community today, Carol.
Well, that's great, and it's all natural.
It's all natural.
And it's embracing more what we forget.
Yeah.
Sunshine, right?
Sunshine. Yeah.
We forget about sunshine.
Yeah, we do.
And 30 minutes of sunshine, and just to feel the radiance of it, and how it can uplift us as a human being. The spirit is certainly nurturing the eyes as well. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sam Byrne.
Carol, thanks for doing what you're doing.
Eye care practitioner.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Anytime.
Okay, we'll do it again sometime in the future.
Anytime.
Yeah. Well, I wish you well.
Definitely, and I already have that in my mind.
Okay.
For sure.
I wish you well and wish your community well, and take care. Enjoy the fall, and we'll see you down the road. See you down the road.
I